Is Alabama getting another quarterback today? And you know what? Let's just jump on this Mount Rushmore train.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, HSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. We'll talk about Monarch Money here in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks for everybody for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. So, Jimmy, Alabama may be adding to its commitment list today with Tayen Cava. You pronounce it Cava. Just like there's no V in it, but it sounds like a V. Well, there was no N in Tungavailoa, but, you know, hey, we'll get used to it. It's okay. And you know what? Let me tell you this. You want to, if you're like, okay, 13th best quarterback in the country. We already got a quarterback, not fired up. I implore you to go check out his highlights. His huddle tape's fun.
Yeah, and if you're not excited about the 13th best quarterback, and I know industry-wide he's not ranked that way. The only people that rank him that way is the Rivals ranking. But guess who's the best in the business by far? Rivals. That's the best. And they clearly have done a lot of work on this kid. That's why he's ranked where he's ranked. He was ranked way up there before Alabama got involved. And to say nothing of the fact that Boise, when's the last time Boise had a starting quarterback that was bad? Or BYU even had a starting quarterback that was bad? These are programs that pretty much produce an NFL quarterback, when they have a starter. So there's all the reason in the world to love this kid. I know he's been coached by and is highly regarded by Ganu Tungavailoa, who was a big part of this marriage of Tayen Cava and Alabama. And I love the tape. And ultimately, I mean, you can watch the tape of Jet Tamala and Tayen Cava, and you can have your favorite. And I think most people would prefer Tamala, who is, ranked higher. I get that. But here's the deal. Ty Simpson is getting his shot in year 4. Let's say one of these guys gets their shot in year 4. Year 4 for them will be 2029. So it's not so much about who's great today. It's about who's going to be really good in 2029. I would be hard-pressed to gamble between Tamala and Cava as to who's going to be better in 2029 after you've had all this additional work of big-time development. Both of these kids are highly promising. I love Cava. One last point I want to make, Luke, and I think this is the most important one. Alabama would like to have 2 quarterbacks in this class. But think about this. Let's say Cava picked BYU and didn't go to Alabama. Would Alabama have taken a second quarterback in this class? Probably not. That tells you it's not about Alabama is dying to have a second quarterback. This is about Cava. They want him. They don't want just a second quarterback. They want this guy. If they wanted a second quarterback, Luke, they would have recruited a bunch of dudes to get that second quarterback. They didn't. They just want this guy. And boy, Alabama's been on a roll under Nick Sheridan evaluating quarterbacks. I mean, but from Austin Mack to Keelan Russell to Jet Tamala to now Tayen Cava, I really trust Nick Sheridan's judgment. By the way, back in 2019, you know who Nick Sheridan said was going to be good and almost no one else did? Michael Penix. So I really trust their quarterback eval. So assuming Tayen Cava commits to Alabama, as predicted by Steve Wiltfong, as predicted by Tim Watts, as predicted by Andrew Bone. I'm really excited that these are the 2 Alabama's bringing in, Tamala and Cava.
Yeah, and I'm happy about these 2. It's kind of counterintuitive to say, you know what, if you're a quarterback like Cava and you're thinking, okay, well, I don't want to go to Alabama. The conventional wisdom would be, I don't want to go to Alabama because they already have their quarterback in Tamala. Well, I think now you can say, well, I really want to go to Alabama. And yes, they have Tamala. And if he does beat me out, or if I feel like I'm not going to be playing for a while, I can always transfer. I guess that's right. The bonus to transferring early now. It used to be a pain in the butt to transfer. Now it's super easy. So right. I guess that's one thing where if you're a quarterback and you really want to go somewhere, then you could take a flyer on it and see where you stand. Also, now you've got former Alabama quarterback. By the way, there was a great story by John Garcia talking about Brian Williams and how people are still recruiting him. And Brian Williams was saying things like, ever since I was committed to Alabama, people have called and going, well, if we finish second out, we feel like we're doing okay. And best of luck. And you've made a good choice. And so now he'll have that former Alabama player tag on him, and maybe that'll help some. So again, I'm forecasting way out there things that may never happen, but it dawned on me that the transfer portal may make it where instead of everybody always thinks, well, quarterbacks will be leaving left and right. Well, maybe two of them come at the same time. They're like, let me go see how I do here. Let's just see how it works out.
I also think that the fact that they're, for all those that say, okay, well, two are coming in, one's going to leave early. Who knows if both will stick around? We don't know the answer to that. It could happen. I mean, obviously, we know the numbers over 50% of quarterbacks transfer. And I think, heck, that number's probably up to 60, 70% by now in terms of quarterbacks that transfer at least once. But look at who the starter is. And assuming he has a good year, which is a good bet as we sit here today, Luke, I think it's a heck of a message to the rest of the QB room. The guy that leads the QB room is the guy that was patient, the guy that waited his turn, the guy that developed. By the way, maybe the other most famous quarterback in the nation in 2025, or I shouldn't say the most famous quarterback in college football. There's another guy that waited his turn. He just had to wait till his year 3. But a lot of people that were in Arch Manning's position, number 1 quarterback in America coming out of high school, sat behind a guy that wasn't taken until like the 7th round of the NFL draft. A lot of guys would have left. Arch didn't. And when they asked him at SEC Media Days last week, how come you didn't leave? He said, why would I leave? This is where I wanted to be. And I felt I was improving. I'm developing. I went to the place where I thought they would develop me. It was working. I really feel like I've improved and I'm a better quarterback today thanks to the coaching I'm getting from Sark and AJ Milwee. So I think that Ty Simpson, his presence and the Arch Manning story, maybe a few more kids start sticking around.
Let's talk about Big Ten Media Days here really quickly. They start this week, and it's sort of like, what are they going to do to try and compete with the attention the SEC Media Days receives?
Well, they don't have an
First thing that stands out to me, some of these schedules for the Big Ten teams are just such jokes. I mean, I get so tired of some of the Twitters and the other things that are like anti-SEC. They're like, I can't believe the SEC plays a Mercer. Now, they're more mad maybe that they play Mercer towards the end of the season. But listen to Penn State's schedule. FIU, Villanova. Well, they start with Nevada. I didn't even throw that one in there. So Nevada, FIU, Villanova. Then they welcome in Oregon. Okay. I mean, you got to play somebody.
Sounds like a basketball schedule.
Yeah. Then UCLA, Northwestern, at Iowa. Now, if somebody wants to go, that could be tricky. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's losable for sure.
At Ohio State, Indiana, at Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers. I mean, come on, man. I mean, don't give the SEC crap when you're throwing out stuff like that. I mean, if you ask me, if Penn State loses to Oregon and loses to Ohio State, the only 2 real games on their schedule, they shouldn't get in. Now, they will get in because 10 and 2 Power 4, especially a Big Ten team that's named Penn State, they'll get in.
I do think they're good. I do think they're good. And I agree with you. The schedule's terrible. I think Penn State is good, and I think they'll win the Big Ten, partly because they're good and partly because of that schedule. And then we'll see how they do in the playoff when they're matched up with some really good SEC teams. But Penn State's a very good team. I suspect they'll win the Big Ten. Again, I give the schedule a lot of credit there as to why they're not going to get beat up playing that non-conference schedule. They have a fairly easy Big Ten schedule, though they do play. I mean, there's 3 really good teams in that league right now: Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. They do play Ohio State and Oregon. I'll give that. They do play the 2 other good teams in the league. How about this? I looked it up for the show because I knew we were going to be talking about the Big Ten. Maryland, who I don't think will be good, but if you want to bet on Maryland getting to a bowl game, that might be a pretty good bet. You know what? Maryland's the only team in the Big Ten that does not play Ohio State, Oregon, or Penn State. They don't play any of those 3. So maybe mark down Maryland for 6 wins. Interestingly, also Illinois, who is everyone's dark horse in the Big Ten, and mine too. If there's going to be an Indiana from the Big Ten that makes the playoff, go Illinois. 2 things. I just said this about Penn State. Illinois is actually pretty good. They got a team. Luke Altmaier is one of the better senior quarterbacks in the country. They're good. Brett Bielema's got his team tough, playing kind of a Wisconsin SEC brand of football. But Illinois' schedule is just custom made to do the things that Indiana did a year ago. So I'm only going to put 3 of Big Ten teams in the playoff. I'm going to say Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon in the playoff, Luke. I won't be shocked if Ohio State or Oregon somehow doesn't get in, and if they don't, Illinois does.
Time to talk a little Monarch Money. If you've ever wished that managing your money felt easier, with Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big old purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. You know, having everything in one app just made it so much easier for me to find everything I needed and to give me that motivation. So I was thrilled with Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. It's all one word at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. monarchmoney.com.
You built your wealth through Monarch Money to the point now we're about to build a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, we are. We're about to build our own little Mount Rushmore. It's imaginary.
That's going to cost us some money.
It's imaginary, and somehow I'm still in the red. But
get out your chainsaw.
So, okay, Jimmy, Mount Rushmore for Alabama. Everybody's been on this Mount Rushmore thing, and at first I was thinking, okay, it's kind of lazy talking season stuff. And then I was like, what a coincidence! I'm lazy and it's talking season.
Hey, so, Alabama, it's harder. It's harder at Alabama than other places. I mean, it
is harder at Alabama. That's a great point. So we can say this on Mount Rushmore. There are 4 faces. Saban and Bear are taken up 2.
Oh, you're going to put coaches up there?
Yeah. Okay. What do you want me to do?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a million ways to do it. If we're putting coaches up there, Saban and Bryant have to be. If we're including coaches, it's got to start with those 2. It's got to start with Bryant and Saban if you're including coaches.
All right, let's do it this way. Let's do it with coaches than without coaches, because it makes it so much harder with coaches. But Saban and Bear are on there if you include coaches. And I would include – I think most people have included coaches. So then here are my candidates, okay? I will start with Leroy Jordan.
Sure.
You know, just an incredible linebacker. I'm kind of related to him. I say that all the time. He does not say that about me. He had 31 tackles in one game. Bear Bryant said if they stay between the lines, Leroy will tackle them. I mean, when Bear Bryant's giving you that kind of praise, he's certainly up there. Now, he predates you and me.
Yeah. Not many do.
So, yeah.
Like Leroy Jordan and maybe Napoleon Bonaparte.
So, yeah, he was a hell of a he was a kicker. Scat back.
Yeah.
All right. Antonio Langham is who I put up there next. Career leader, 19 interceptions, one of the more iconic plays, literally and transformative plays in college football history. His return of an interception of Shane Matthews in the 1992 championship game, it changed the way we do college football. If that doesn't happen, if Florida wins, the gamble for SEC title games and title games in general does not pay off.
No, I agree. If Alabama got knocked out of the national championship game for playing in the very first ever conference championship game, other conferences might have said, we're not going to do this. It's too big of a risk.
Now, there will be some people that say, Luke, you're not you got to put Joe Namath, or you got to put maybe even the Scott Hunter or Bart Starr or Kenny Stabler. I'm going to tell you something. The quarterbacks I'm going to have on here, I think, were better. Now, I think Joe Namath is one of the more iconic players in all of football ever. But I'm going to keep going with the guys I got. And so somebody can always refute. But Derek Thomas, 52 sacks career. He ranks first in sacks all time, of course. He ranks first in sacks in a season with 27. That's a ridiculous number when you only played – I think you probably only played 11 games back then, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He, as a defensive player, single-handedly beat Penn State. Not just like on an Antonio Langham interception. Like, he dominated Penn State the entire game to the point where it was like Derek Thomas won this game. He also blocked a kick against Army to save the Sun Bowl. And you say, what's the big deal? Well, it just shows you his versatility.
And you try losing Army.
Yeah.
And then you lose to Army, we're still talking about that.
Then there's the Texas A&M game, the Hurricane Bowl, where he had 5 sacks in one game. He was just ridiculous. Boy, it's going to be hard to keep off there if you ask me. Then I get to Tua. And I say, okay, he didn't win a Heisman.
How many people you got on this mountain?
I know. I'm trying to narrow it down.
Okay.
You get Tua. You've got leading all-time passer for Alabama. He's I don't think he's the leading all-time passer for Alabama. I think that Jim goes to – doesn't that go – no, it does go to Tua. I think it is – no, it's not. It's A.J. McCarron. Tua was he had 30 or 4,000 yards passing, and he was just incredible. I mean, I'm looking at the wrong stats here. That's what I'm doing. I was wondering what that was. But he was just incredible. And he has the most iconic play in college playoff history, at least, maybe college national championship history of all time, was 2nd and 26. And then Devontae Smith, of course, the recipient of that pass, he's the one that has 3,965 receiving yards of most all time, 235 yards in a game most all time, 117 catches in a season, second all time. He has 1,858 or 56 yards receiving in a season, first all time, 15 touchdowns, first all time. And I said 235 catches total, 274 yards in one game, which is the most all time with Alabama. He had 5 touchdowns in one game against Ole Miss and had 4 touchdowns 2 other times, I believe. He's just ridiculous. I mean, he won a Heisman as a wide receiver, which hadn't been done by anybody, not a quarterback or a running back, and God knows how long. So
Tim Brown.
Smith. Then you get to Bryce Young, about 8,400 yards passing, second all time, 4,872 yards passing in one season, first all time, 559 yards passing in one game.
Sounds like a lot.
That's a lot of yards. He won the Heisman Trophy, had 80 touchdowns in his career, 47 in one season, which, of course, is first all-time. Again, won the Heisman, first pick in the NFL draft. And then the other candidate I have in there is Derrick Henry, 3,591 yards, second all-time total. Also, he was misused at Alabama early in his career as much as he was by Tennessee Titans early in his career. Had 2,219 yards, which is first all-time in a season. 27 touchdowns in a season, 271 yards in one season, 28 touchdowns, 42 career touchdowns. I mean, he's just ridiculous. Won the Heisman, won a national championship, won a MVP, I believe, for the national championship. I mean, just incredible. I'm going to tell you, Jimmy, the more I think about this, Derek Thomas and Deuce Palmer and Bryce Young always fluctuate who my favorite Bammer of all time is. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to put Devontae Smith, and I think I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
So you're going Saban, Bryant, Derrick Henry.
No, Devontae Smith and Derrick Henry, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go extremely similar. If counting the coaches, I'm going to put Bear Bryant, Nick Saban. I agree that I'm going to put Derrick Henry up there just because I think it's so unique that we will soon be able to argue that he is possibly the greatest high school running back of all time, one of the greatest college running backs of all time, and one of the greatest NFL backs of all time. And I'm not sure you can say that about any other player Maybe Emmett, but Emmett didn't win a Heisman like Derek did.
Emmett didn't win a national championship.
So I'm going to put Derrick Henry, and this will be a little controversial, but since to me Mount Rushmore is a face, and you're talking about the face of the program, I'm going to put Joe Namath up there, and I'm not sure he performed well enough at Alabama. He didn't win a Heisman, for instance. And even in the NFL, you could poke holes in his numbers in the NFL. But to me, Joe Namath has created a personality, a cult of personality, where Namath, the name Namath, is synonymous with the position. I mean, Namath, quarterback. I mean, it's synonymous with the position. Everyone knows Joe Namath famously played at Alabama. So I'm going to say it's Bryant, Saban, Namath, and Derrick Henry. But if you're doing just players and we're taking Saban and Bryant off, then I'm going to say it's Namath, Derrick Henry, Derek Thomas, and gosh, I had a fourth.
Bryce, Devontae, Tua.
One you didn't mention, and I almost hesitate to put him on here because it's so much in the past. But just like I said, Namath was synonymous with quarterback position for over 4 decades. Don Hudson was synonymous with the wide receiver position, and I know that's going to be boring to younger people. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't know this, but Don Hudson, his records as the most prolific receiver in pro football history stood for decades until the 80s when they started throwing the ball all over the place. Don Hudson was like the all-time leading receiver in pro football history until like the 80s, and he played in the 30s. So I think, it's tough. I would probably include Hudson. So like Hudson, Namath, Derek Thomas, Derrick Henry. That's where I would go.
Fair. And if I were doing only players, I'm putting Derek Thomas, Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry.
Gosh,
I think I might do Langham.
Yeah, that's fair. He's the greatest DB in Alabama history, as good as the DBs have been under Saban, and recently Antonio Langham to me remains the greatest defensive back in Alabama history. He'd be very worthy. David Palmer's my all-time favorite Alabama player, and to this day, the most exciting Alabama player I've ever seen, and the best Alabama offensive player I've ever seen with the ball in his hands. God, it's just so it just shows when, hey, and everybody listening has their own opinion, and feel free to put it in the comments here or put it on Twitter, to have your own opinion. Everyone's going to have a different one. We're so blessed to be fans of Alabama where you have so many to choose from that it's not fair. It's not fair that you're leaving a name out. It's unfair that you're leaving a dozen names out, if not 20 names out.
Yeah. It's I could easily put Deuce up there and I would understand it. The numbers don't justify it, but Deuce is just so, especially for he's my class.
You could do a Mount Rushmore of the 4 Heisman winners. It could be Mark and Derek and Bryce and Smitty.
Well, the one thing about this, for Henry, Devontae, and then Langham, they were all huge parts of national championship teams.
Great point.
They were all probably the best on the team of a national championship team. And then Derek Thomas, you throw him in there because you don't hear of anybody with 52 sacks in a year anymore. 27 sacks in a year when you only play 11 games? What is going on? That's ridiculous. When people didn't drop back as much. Now, when they did drop back, they weren't doing a lot of, quick slants either. It used to be you drop back, you try to hit somebody on a post every time or whatever. But
if Derrick Henry was actually made of rock, it would make a lot of sense. Derrick Henry being made of rock sounds right.
All right, let's make it to the roster countdown for today. Knock out 2 guys for me, Jimmy.
Yeah, 10 is Xavier Brown. And I'm surprised that he didn't get on the All-SEC team, in the sense that if you're saying that Ryan Williams had an absolutely spectacular freshman season that launched his fame into 2025, Xavier Brown was just behind him. Started all season as a true freshman, made a game-winning play to beat Georgia, very similar to Ryan's, held on to starting position all year, really solid player. And his track, I'll put it this way. He's replacing, I mean, the corners before it was Zabian and Damani, the corners before them were Kool-Aid and Terrion Arnold. Zabian was better as a true freshman than Kool-Aid was, and Terrion redshirted as a true freshman. So Zabian today, in his development as a true freshman, better than both Kool-Aid and Terrion. That's how good this kid is. I think somehow he's underrated, which is absolutely crazy, because if he's popping up as like a third team All-American teams, I go, yeah, he's that good. But you're not really seeing his name out there as much, and I can't really explain it other than the fact that I can assure you the NFL knows who he is, and they're going to. I think Zabian is tracking towards one day becoming a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft. Great player, again, solid, good teammate. He helps recruit, and it looks like he's going to be a three-and-done guy, and that makes him a top 10 player even on this loaded roster.
All right, so that's Zabian Brown, and I'm with you. I'm with you on him. You and I said the other day when the all SEC teams came out, and it is ridiculous they do 3 of them. I'll say it again. To not have him on any of them is a little nuts to me.
Yeah, he's worthy. He's been worthy for sure. I mean, Alabama had 11 guys on it, and Zabian absolutely worthy of inclusion first, second, or third team. I wouldn't have blinked if he was first team, and he didn't even make. But the league's full of good players, and so like this one at number 9, who is on the all SEC bunch, and that's Jaden Roberts, one of the best guards in America. Always has reminded me of DJ Fluker. I think in his senior year, his final year at Alabama coming up here, we're going to really see a Fluker-type performance from him, even though it's going to be a guard. And a reminder to everybody, Fluker spent most of his NFL career playing guard. And I think, Jaden just kind of beat him to the spot. What a great dude, a real good kid. Absolutely huge, strongest player on the team. Might have said in the last episode, might be the strongest player in Alabama history. Absolutely massive human being. Played hurt last year. I saw an NFL scout, I think it's Matt Miller, who I respect his work a lot. Matt Miller said, I watched tape of him playing all year, and I expected to see more. I'm a little disappointed that he wasn't a little better, but I expected to watch a first-round pick in Jaden Roberts. He only flashed at times. I'm not so sold that he's a first-round pick watching his tape. That's why it's so difficult to know nothing besides, hey, I'm just watching tape. Matt Miller didn't even know. I DM'd him to let him know that Jaden missed half the year hurt. Jaden was hurt half the year and had to miss a lot of time. He played like a borderline all-conference player with multiple injuries to the point he couldn't even complete games. He would have to split the snaps with Geno Vandermark so he could get through games, and he still played great. Now we're hopefully about to see a fully experienced, fully healthy final year making his push towards the NFL. I think he'll be a day 2 draft pick, which is fantastic for a guard. Jaden Roberts, the 9th best player on this team, a high-quality lineman in this sport.
I'm down with it. I mean, there are very few rankings you have so far that I've disagreed with. I think that means you're doing a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you. I try to be conservative. I try to try not to I don't want to be controversial with it. I want it to be right.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.